Hi, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the third episode of my Israel Museum tours. Welcome. And on behalf of my good old friend, who still doesn't have a name, and I could really do some help here. So, this is my good old friend who's enjoying everything. So, his thumbs up are very reassuring, I would say. So, welcome, welcome. Before we begin, hi Cindy, good to see you, dear. So it's your third tour tonight with me, and luckily for today, this is the last tour indeed. I've already done two of them. The recording of the first one, by the way, you can find on my YouTube channel already. This was a live walk in Chugureti neighborhood in Tbilisi. Unfortunately, the Rustaveli Avenue tour that I did for virtual tours, the recordings are not provided. So you just have to wait, when I schedule this again. Hi, Aileen. Hi, Marilyn. Hi, Mary. Hi, Pennsylvania. Wow, good to see you all. Hi, Richard. Hey, Sharon. Goodness, I did not expect you to join all the three tours. Fantastic. How do you manage that? So Sharon somehow juggles, the actual traveling and virtual traveling all at one at the same time. Fantastic. Hi, Colleen, Joanne, good to see you. Maria, good to see you. So before we begin, I would like to make some announcements, well, about the tours coming in the next few days and also next week. So tomorrow, I have a very important tour scheduled, which is the very exclusive visit to a 19th century apartment in Tbilisi in Sololaki neighborhood. We're going to be guided by the owner of the apartment. Her name is Marina, and her family's been living in this house since late 19th century. It's Armenian Jewish family, and I just can't wait, I just can't wait for the tour to begin, like in good old days back then at home. Um, yes. And by the way, thank you so much, everyone, for all the DMs, for all the kind messages. Apparently, my most recent reels have touched, hearts of many of my friends and my viewers, and mine as well. That was just one of those, there are good days and bad days, and that was a bad day, and I just thought to share this because sometimes it's too hard to be far away from home, but it's great to have such a support from everyone. So, and there's one more tour tomorrow, another premiere. This is the project done well. Mostly it's Misha's, my husband's idea, because he's always been interested in the history of the Soviet period. So we are doing it decade by decade. So 1930s tomorrow, it's going to be a lot about Stalin, but we'll try to focus more on creation rather than destruction. But the creative process amid such massive destruction was not easy, and it couldn't but have been affected by the politics. So we'll see. We'll try to focus on culture, but hi, Richard. Okay, so Dolly is joining. Dolly, you're just on time. Hi, Ronaldine. You're just on time. We are about to begin, and well, on Monday, as usual. Well, there's going to be one tour on Monday. I hardly ever do a tours on Monday, but because of so many tours, I just had to spread it a little bit more. So I'll be finishing with the Yelagin Romanov residence and announcing a new tour in St. Petersburg as well. So with all that being said, hi everyone. Marilyn, well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Yes, Cindy, thank you so much. It's almost 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube. You're right. So I'm really, really this close to 1,000. And also, please follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Attempting to find this extra hour in the 24 hours to, to actually push my social media as well, which I haven't been doing for a long time because of the change of the country and many other things. And as usual, I'll be switching off the chat for now because I won't be able to see any of the messages. And we'll have a Q&A some 30 minutes later, and we're going to have a bigger one in the end. You know the drill, so just a little bit of the housekeeping. And we are back to Tel Hatzor. We're in the Canaanite period. So when it gets to history of Israel, so there are, I would say, well, they stick to more or less the same periodization, but there are some differences, and we can say that it's well, like, let's say with regards to world history, it's Middle and Late Bronze Age. However, when applied to history of Israel, it's called Canaanite period. And we finished in Tel Hatzor, which is actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and this is in the north of Israel. And we did a tour with you some months ago, actually. Unfortunately, now this is not easy to visit the north because of their constant attacks. And we finished with this beautiful finding, the Shrine of Stela, 15th to 13th century BCE. So this is exactly the period in question. And why Tel Hatzor is that important? Because it can, well, the findings made there shed light on that period, and it actually, with all the findings, they prove that the events described in the Old Testament with regards to Canaanites, the pagan peoples that lived in the Canaan, and also it shed light on the rivalry between the pagans and the Israelites after their return. Well, after their return to Canaan in around 14th century BCE, their exodus from Egypt, and particularly this finding. Well, as you know, the video for the tour was recorded by me just recently in April when I was in Israel for my exams. And I also added a lot of photographs from the website of Israel Museum and many other places as well. I also have access to some of the journals, archaeological journals that really add, to my understanding. So, and this is exactly how the stones were found. And the stone over there in the very heart, in the very center, has hands reaching up to the sky, to the moon. So this is believed to have been the shrine of the moon. And I also mentioned that there was found this sculpture of a deity. Some we don't know much about it, but it looks like this is exactly the deity of symbolizing the moon. And the archaeologists found everything was lying on the floor, on the ground, obviously, but this is the recreation of it. And this particular deity was found beheaded, just like any other pagan finding. Let's put it this way, which pretty much proves what was written in the Old Testament with regards to the rivalry, because Tel Hatzor was the place of two very important battles between the Canaanites, between the pagans and the Israelites. I'm not taking sides here. I'm just telling you that archaeology has been able to prove that something written in the Old Testament, in the Bible, actually happened. So this is crucial, absolutely crucial. You will see a lot of animals, a lot of sculptures. So this was, I would say, a typical decoration for multiple temples found across Israel. And you will see that normally it's just only one side that's been carved and designed, because the other side is flat, because it just, it was attached to a wall of a shrine, just like that. So we're still in the late and middle and late Bronze period, but we are approaching the very important stage. However, what is also quite interesting, that we keep finding throughout middle, especially Middle Bronze Age, a lot of fragments, well, a lot of items coming from Egypt, which only again testifies, to the understanding of a big cooperation between Egypt and Canaan. Think of Yehud. Yehud is the place where the the founding was made. This is a modern, I would say, modern naming of an old settlement. And there was also a tell. So there was also made this finding of this deity. It's a vessel, and it's designed. Well, top of it is designed as some deity sitting on top of it. So it is believed that there was held. Could be an oil, or could be something that was used in ceremonies in the pagan temple. Tel Hatzor looks like a proper tell, which is always a mound on elevation comprised of multiple levels of just habitats that existed on the area. Tel Hatzor goes back to at least 3,500 years, so that's exactly the period in question. However, we also had a tour in Tel Hatzor, I would say shortly before the October 7th. I was there with my group in September. I believe it was September 2023 when I was there with my group, or late August. Yeah, it was incredibly hot. That must have been August. This must have been August. And you see that the tail is actually on the top, really high. But throughout other periods, later periods, the areas would be inhabited, and exactly down at the footsteps of Tel Hatzor, there is the Roman period ruins of a Roman period city, a big one, and we talked about it in all the details and all the fantastic finds that were made there. In Tel Hatzor, you can find. This is the issue again with all these, tells, that since it's made of so many levels, in order to get to an earlier level, you need to destroy the newer ones, I would say. But the findings would be made attributing to different periods. So there were kind of multiple figurines, decorations of temples attributing to different sites, different periods, I mean. And obviously, there was found a lot of household objects, again, comprising multiple centuries, so from early to late Bronze period. And you remember that with regards to pottery, it's very easy to date pottery because of the designs, and it's very easy to also date and attribute, also pottery because of some, I would say, very distinctive features, because pottery changed very quickly, and every culture had their own designs, I would say, and ways of making pottery as well. Also, the materials from which the pottery was made, the content, it also had its unique features. And there was found this unique vessel, the handle of which looks like snakes. And I would say in particular there is a big importance given to snakes, and we will see more of them. And for those who, I would say, who remembers the Old Testament and stories of Moses, the Exodus, and just the story of how Israelites are on their way, from the slavery in Egypt for 40 years, how they suffered, and how there were multiple times they almost gave up, and some people did give up, and they would tend to help pagan gods, asking for pagan gods, questioning their religion, questioning Moses, questioning God. So and we read that in Old Testament, and now we actually see that in archaeology. We see that. Well, take a look at all these items. You see so many calves, and it just cannot but resonate with you, like the golden calf story. And now I'm taking you back to my favorite Ashkelon, the city where I lived for almost 2 years. No, wait, how long did I live there? No, 2 years. Yeah, no, a year and a half. No. So this is where my first virtual tours of Israel started as well. Tel Ashkelon taught me so many things. And I'm so happy to go back there again again, at least virtually. So one of those calves was found in Tel Ashkelon. This is the calf, and it was gilt. It wasn't gilded. It was the bronze and silver coated, which, well, this finding was absolutely groundbreaking because it was another proof of that story, because the Canaanites were pagans, and calf was a symbol of one of their superior gods called Baal. Sometimes it's referred to as Baal in English, but it's Baal. And we see that. So this is exactly the photo when it was found in 1990s, early 1990s, if I'm not mistaken. And there was a big group of archaeologists from the States that also participated in the excavations, and that discovery made way to many journals and newspapers all over the world. That was the proof that everything, well, many things that were at least mentioned in the Old Testament regarding the idol worship and the battle against it, and how many times the Jewish people on their way to freedom uh, uh, were attempted and indeed created their idols for themselves. And so on the one hand, we see those idols, we find them in multiple places, not only in Ashkelon. Ashkelon is just one of the examples that I couldn't but talk in more details, but also snakes. We will get back to that. We will see a lot more snakes, that's for sure. Yes, exactly at that time, we find written monuments. We see this ostraca. The ostraca is basically ostraca is normally a small pieces of pottery, shards on which inscriptions would be made. There was no paper at that time, so there was no papyrus available, and so they only had ostracas, ostracon, ostracas, and in Hathor, again, Tel Hathor. So 18th to 17th century. This is the dating. I would say, very concrete, because it was easy, because it was pottery, clay is easy to date. And this is so in that inscription, there was a name, and the name, it was basically one of the letters, and the name is exactly the name that we hear, or that we find in the Old Testament, the Jabin, the king of Hathor. And in one of the battles between Israelites and Canaanites, so Jabin was named. And we know of the destructions that were made. We know of we talked about it on the Tel Hatzor. If you missed Tel Hatzor tour, contact me and I can send you the link. And also, as you know, my supporters have access 24/7 to 300 videos, and Tel Hatzor is one of those for sure. With the and that extra biblical proof, extra biblical proof of the existence of the people, of places, of items. So these findings are absolute game changers. So starting from the 19th century, when the first findings of this kind would be made, and with the development of archaeology and the exploration of other territories, of wider territories, we've been able to make many more of these findings, and they will be coming, and it's not like that the museum has its main goal as to, obviously, the museum has agenda to show with archaeology, not the speculation, but with the archaeology, to show the existence of Canaanites, of Philistines, of peoples of the sea, right? So the people coming from Greece, Cyprus, Crete, and even the territory up to like south of Spain, of coming to these lands, and of course the Israelites. And speaking of other written monuments, they found multiple letters. Mostly they would be, about the trade exchange, but it would be, well, back then I would say it would be mostly in Akkadian. Or Middle Bronze Age, it would be mostly the Akkadian language. It was used for business. There's something that I really need to take you to. Yeah. So Beishan, that's one of the places I also took you to. And it's important that exactly somewhat mid late Bronze Age, so the alphabet would be invented. So the Akkadian would be, Akkadian was used for business. And from that on, so just the 22 letters, that would be a lot easier to operate with because the trade network was expanding. So there was much need for a much simpler language, the common language in the region. The, I don't know, this is a smashing hit. I absolutely love this. Ritual object, a libation vessel. It's so cute. Beautiful fish. It's not too big, but you could definitely hold it in your hands. Not very convenient. Just I think just with both hands, and I like that it even has like the spine and even the scales, everything to the tiniest detail. I just love it. So found in Tel Hator. Look how skillfully, how beautifully it was made. Also, they have found these creepy masks in multiple areas, not only in Tel Hator, in many places, in Beishan, at different periods. So masks would be used, as you know. We found some really creepy ones. I don't even want to remember, but I've already remembered. I can see them right now. Oh my goodness, I'll try to forget about it. So we know that the masks evolved. The designs evolved, and well, some of them were quite ornate and less creepy. So the snakes. So we talked about idols. And we remember that one of the means for Moses to fight the idols would be snakes. That's exactly what happened. So when some of the Israelites on their way to freedom from Egypt, they questioned Moses, God. Well, like I can understand 40 years in the desert. Like today was 30 degrees Celsius in Tbilisi. I spent about 3 hours outside before the first tour, and I already was exhausted. 40 years. So, and well, all those people who questioned the decisions of the Lord, so they were punished by snakes. And there are a lot of snakes found in again, not only in Tel Hator. Well, these are in particular from Tel Hator, but there are multiple. So the snakes, again, this is another extra biblical proof, the actual material find, proving the liability, proving the of what was written in the Old Testament. Nahariya plays the most northern territory of Israel, almost. Well, Nahariya. There was made a fantastic find. I have never seen anything like that before. 19th, 17th century BC. So this is Middle Bronze Age. According to some periodization, it's even late early Bronze Age period. So in that area, there was discovered actually a very big settlement, pagan settlement, and we know that actually the Israelites never really reached as far as Nahariya, so it was not territory inhabited by the Israelites. There were attempts, but they never managed to push away the Canaanites, and that's why Nahariya, I would say, I'm pretty sure there are still many more places to be discovered. but they are just only on their way. So there was made this beautiful heads of the goddess Ashra. This is one of the superior gods of Canaanites, and there were also found spearheads that date back exactly to the period um, around 15th, 13th century BCE. That is exactly, when 15th to 12th century BCE. It's exactly when, the Israelites returned. Many findings were made, and the Canaanites, it's just the name, the general name of all these peoples, but it doesn't mean that their ways of life was identical, throughout the territory, because basically Canaan was the territory of you know that stretch all along the shore of the Mediterranean, and it was quite sporadically inhabited, and there were differences, from one place to the other, but the gods still, Asherah, El, they like the superior gods, and they gave more than 70 divine offsprings. Let's put it this way. So in here we find, more, much more proof to the existence of the places there, and we see that. So Asher did not drive out the inhabitants of Akko, or the inhabitants of Sidon, or Ahlab, or Achzib, or Hebla, or Afik, or Rehob. You see these places, and these places do exist. And it's not like, okay, so this is most probably Achzib. No, there in these places there was found the proof, written proof, or I would say something that really just gives them, I would say, good grounding to meet them. I mean, historians and archaeologists, the good grounding for for the theory of existence of this place exactly on the spot. I hope I'm making sense. I do hope so. So let's move on, and we're going to have a Q&A in about 5 minutes. So we're still in Naria, and look at all these beautiful creations. It's mostly different gods and goddesses. So as you know, there were over 70 different ones. And I haven't seen anything like that in other places. So in Naria, they definitely had something. And I like this one. So this is also believed to have been either Asherah or one of her daughters, and there was found a mold. And again, so Bronze Age, we don't know how they came up to creating bronze, how they did that, but this was highly developed civilization, because smelting a metal, molding it, designing. This was quite. I mean, I love it, absolutely. I love it. This could be a very good pendant. And she does look a little bit like the Statue of Liberty as well, more for casting blades. It's Hatzor, again, it's the north. So more Ashra, so different depictions, different creations of different gods and goddesses of the Canaan. Another Ashera, and I like this one. So I found the illustration online. So again, Ashera, and the golden plaque from Lachish. Lachish is another location which I will be talking about hopefully next time. There was a very important battle, and again, lots of proof, from the archaeology. These are the molds for Ashra. So that I mentioned. So these are the figurines from Tel Hatzor, a little bit, I would say, later period, which is again contemporary to Exodus. And El normally would be depicted as a seated deity with the heads like this, awaiting for the sacrifice. And so El would be the most superior god, together with Asherah, and Baal would be one of those 70 something offsprings, and every deity had also an animalistic symbol. So calf was exactly the symbol of Baal. Amat, another goddess, a sister of Baal. So Baal and Amat, that's exactly, we know from multiple stories where, well, Joshua fought against the cult of Baal and Asherah. And we know that from the Old Testament. More deities found, and you can see the the skill, how skillfully it was made. Multiple deities. For some of them, we don't even know if it's, well, we don't know the names of those gods and goddesses. It's not like it would be written, but this we can clearly see that these the seated ones is El god. Normally, they would have some features. So this is probably the last one before the Q&A. A very important find, a super important one. And well, very shortly you will see that I'm not really overly excited. It's just really excited enough. Purification basin with a sculpture of a certain deity. 15th to 13th century BCE, Tel Hatzor beheaded. Remember I told you that. So Israelites, how they fought against the idol worship, beheading the sculptures. So purification is something similar. This, tradition is common to many cultures, not just throughout the Levant territory, but even much further. So it's the same, even nowadays there is purification through water, and it was the same with Canaanites. So basically I would say the modern day world also, well, just adopted the same tradition started long time ago. It's a pretty big one. That definitely was part of a big shrine, and it was found in Tel Hatzor. And I took you there. It was found in the shrine, and so let's just read. So, and Joshua at that time turned back and took Hatzor and smote the king thereof with a sword. So all these heads of the deities, well, according to the to the shape of the cut where the heads would be broken off. So it was done quickly with some really very fine hard object. And smote all the souls that were therein with the edge of the sword, utterly destroying them. There was not any left to breathe, and he burned Hatzor with fire. I'm not sympathizing towards anyone here, but look, it burned Hatzor with fire. And you know what? We see exactly on the body of this deity, there are traces of burning, long time burning. And we remember that there was the walls of that shrine in Hatzor, we saw the traces of fire, like long time fire. It was blazing with fire for several days, and it was found. So the archaeology proved that. Okay, so let's have a Q&A. And also, I'm very sorry because sometimes the quality of the video is worse, well, than in some other parts. So some rooms had terrible glare. Some did not. So I really tried my hardest to reduce the glare, So Photoshop, it definitely works miracles, but still not perfect. Okay, so the chat is open for questions and comments. Again, I'm not an archaeologist, and especially in the given circumstances, I try to present as unbiased and as objective story as possible. And here we see is just naked archaeology. Look, really naked archaeology that kind of really speaks for itself. Are these real or replicas? Well, real ones. But what exactly are you asking? If it's a If it's paper-based materials, these are replicas mostly. Documents are not, presented in originals. The originals are in storages. If it's, findings, they are originals. There will be very few copies, which will be very easily explained. So these are originals. Yes. Yes, Mary, exactly. At least you get to see them. Absolutely. The fat fish is called Hebrew, the Abu Nafa, and Nafawach means swollen. Yes, yes, Nafuach. Yeah, exactly, exactly. I like the fat fish thing, the fat fish thing. I love it. When there's a reference to say Joshua 14:10, what does this mean? It means the verse and the line. Basically, it's just like in the New Testament. So there is a book of Joshua. There is the Gospels, Mark, for example. So it has Matthew, verse this, line this. So that's exactly what it means. It's the same with the Old Testament. Yes, in the Old Testament, there are also a number of books. So there's different books. It's just say the name of a prophet and or a judge, depending on the period. That's how it goes. Fat kids. Oh, I didn't know that the fat kids are called this way. It is an insult. Yeah, but the fish is so cute. I mean, it's cute. Lee, you like that fish too. Yeah. I wouldn't mind really holding it. I'm pretty sure the archaeologists that found the fish, uh, you know, give it a good stroke. Thank you, Aileen. Thank you. I believe that there's no need for any other proof. There's no need to yell in, at like at every corner because you have this pure archaeology. What else do you need? So, yes. Let's not waste any more time. So, thank you, Eileen. So I'm turning off the chat. As you know, my halfway Q&As are very short because I want to show you as much as possible in the given time. So we only have 1 hour and, it's just time is really slipping away. Let's get back to the video and the longer one, the longer Q&A we'll have afterwards. Yeah, there you go. Sometimes, so somebody asked me if those are original so copies. Sometimes there would be copies, but not in the museum, but actually on sites. The copies would be made, well, just for better visibility, for better understanding of what kind of findings were made. But it's normally written that it's a replica. It's normally written. What was also replica? I'm not sure if you watched the previous tours, but in the early civilization in prehistory room, there was skeletons, of early humans found, and those were replicas. So there are no skeletons, no mummies in the museum. Well, I love it. Egyptian amulet of a naked goddess. Dolly, this is your favorite. So Dolly in particular likes how the back then they would depict a woman body and how they would, especially, well, because of all these deities, they would be about, it would always be something about fertility and plenty. And that's why the goddesses, the earlier deities would be either a male or female bodies with pretty much obvious focus. So, but that was an okay one. Another finding in Megiddo, and we did have a tour in Megiddo. Tell Megiddo. This is exactly the place of the Armageddon. We talked about it, so I'm not repeating myself again. But there was found an ivory plaque, depiction of the Canaanites. And this depiction of Canaanites is super helpful because we know what they were dressed in. We know we know at least something about the Canaanites because the Canaanites themselves, they they wasn't really found, especially in early Bronze Age. There wasn't really found a lot of written monuments, and with the written monuments is, well, it would be mostly not about themselves, but it would be like, it could be gods and goddesses. Yes. It could be some documents about the trade, especially Egypt. By documents, I'm saying ostracus, obviously. But thanks to Egyptians, because Egyptians like to illustrate things, we have understanding. So we understand at least something about Canaanites. And as you know, um, well, when we did tours in Ashkelon, we did tours in some other tales. We know that some of the history between the competition between Egyptians and Canaanites. It's all very well documented by Egyptians, and throughout the Levant, you can find those scarabs, which were seals. You see, they were seals. You can find them in great numbers. So this is just from I would say from just few sites. So the connection with Egypt, the trade, because the Canaanites, why? So they mostly occupied the shoreline, the entire shoreline, because of the trade via Maris, the one of the most ancient trade routes. It would go just through the Canaan, and there would be there would be goods imported and exported, and you can find Canaanite export goods, pottery in the Mediterranean basin and even beyond. And you can find that. There was found a lot of vessels with the contents, for example, with figs. There is a jar over there. It was loaded with figs, and thanks to illustrations done by Egyptians, it's normally this was found in different graves, in burials in Egypt. Well, because it's in Egypt, it is not exhibit. It doesn't belong to the collection of the Israel Museum. So there are just depictions that kind of, also shed light, on the exhibit that the Israel Museum has. And welcome to the Iron Age, or with, I would say, with regards to, Israel's periodization. It's also called Israelite period. So when the Israelites came to these lands finally and settled down. But it's not only Israelite period, because also Philistines came at that point, and we know that. And this is a particularly interesting cult. We remember that this is an attribute of pagans, of pagan worship. But this particular one was found on the Israelite side. When Israelites and Philistines came, which happened approximately at the same time, we remember that the Philistines, the people of the sea, so they were involved in the trade very much, and they would normally settle on the shoreline, whereas, on the coastal plain. Whereas the Israelites would normally be, deeper into the country. And, that's the situation with idol worship. We know that it wasn't easy for so many Israelites, for so many Jews at that time, to stick just to one God, and many eventually would give up. And it's very well explained in the Hebrew Bible how there were cases when some of the kings actually would start worshipping Asherah, for example, or Baal. And this is exactly the proof that indeed happened. So you clearly have an Israelite period, finding Israelite site, archaeological site, and then you have this. So it just only proves. And look, so the first book of Kings, verse 12, line 26 through 30. So we see that Jeroboam said in his heart, "Now shall the kingdom return to the house of David, if these people go up to do sacrifice in the house of the Lord at Jerusalem. Then shall the heart of the people turn again unto their Lord, even into Rehoboam king of Judah, and they shall kill me, and go again to Rehoboam king of Judah." Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold and said unto them, it's too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. So we know that at least Jeroboam did worship, Baal. So yeah, and it was a big no-no for Jews, a big no-no, but it indeed happened multiple times. And so the as I said, I repeat myself. So Philistines came, and I'm gonna have to repeat myself again, but again, 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 again. Philistines have nothing to do with Palestine and Palestinians. Philistines is I would say very mysterious peoples of the sea. In the Old Testament, they are referred to the sea people, the Plishtim, the sea people, the Plishtim, which means the visitors, the foreigners. So they came to these lands, and they were exceptionally good in trade, and they brought beautiful pottery, which is very much similar to the pottery found in Mykonos and like Mycenaean civilization. This is true, and the DNA tests of the of made of Philistine of the bones of the Philistines, and we remember that in Ashkelon was found so far the only Philistine cemetery was found until Ashkelon. So the DNA analysis proves this long-time theory of the Philistines people's origins. So that's exactly what I said. Greece, especially Cyprus and Crete, and also the territories of south of Spain. So yeah, but this has nothing to do with Palestine. Then so the name would be revived in the Roman period, right? So when the Romans ousted, exiled Jews from Jerusalem, they destroyed the second temple, 70 AD, and they completely destroyed Jerusalem and rebuilt it again in the form of a pagan city. Aelia Capitolina it was named, and the entire region was named Syria Palestina. Palestina, well, it's that old term for the Plishtim. So, and then later on, at different periods, it would be just this area would be referred to as Palestine as a region in the Ottoman period. So the Ottoman Empire was vast. And in order to understand which area you were referring to, they just would add, the Ottoman Palestine. And in Ottoman Palestine lived Jews, Muslims, Christians. They were all Palestinians. I have to repeat it again because of the context of times. So the Philistines have nothing to do with Palestine. Let's get back to that. So, because there was a rivalry between the pagan Philistines and the monotheistic Israelites, because they were rivals in the Old Testament, Philistines are portrayed as, I would say, barbaric, underdeveloped, and I would say not really in a not very flattering way, which is logical, right? Because this is the Old Testament book. This is the book of the Jews. So why would they want to praise their enemies? But the Philistines actually were exceptional peoples, with all their achievements, with all their skills. And when they came to these lands, they formed a pentapolis, 5 biggest cities, Ekron, Gaza, Ashkelon. What do you want, Siri? What did I say to trigger you? Well, what was that? So Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, and there's something else. Gat. Yeah. So, and exactly on the side, it is believed, to be the Ekron. Well, it used to be believed. Now it is definitely the old Ekron from the Philistine period. So there was found this big dedicatory inscription in one of the Philistine shrines. It was found, and Well, in the so this is a very short video I feel I took from the museum YouTube, just for you to see this, because I didn't film it. It was impossible to film it. So I filmed it, and there it is. So this is a very, very important for us. The very important finding from the same period is this. This was very difficult to film, very difficult. This is the actual finding. So well, back to the question from one of the viewers, if these are originals or not. So these are originals, but you can find similar ones on those sites. But these are copies on the sites. But here, these are originals. So in several places in Israel, in Ramat Rachel, in the city of David, and in Hatzor, there was found these capiteles, tops of the columns. They are called proto-Iolic kind of, capitals that would later on evolve into, just the Ionic capitals, of the Greeks. So, there is a kind of a term from the museum itself, Levantine composite capital. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that it was found all across the Levant, and in particular in the places that believe to have been, where it is believed to have been palaces of Solomon or David. There are not so many findings made with regards to David and Solomon, but there are. And there was a story that, well, I mean, in the Old Testament, you read that in the palace of David, there was a balcony, and and from the beautiful balcony, he saw Bathsheba dancing. And there was found several balustrades, and Ramat Rachel, for example, there was found. And this looks like what really could have been, Palace of David. It's something similar could have been in the Palace of David. And speaking of Palace of David, so there is a City of David archaeological site in Jerusalem, and they believe to have found, the City of David, and they believe to have found the Palace of David as well. Well, I might be able to also film there when I go there next time, because I don't have a very good video. We'll see, because I try to take good videos, which is not always possible. We'll see. So at some point, I'll definitely be taking you to the City of David. Another very important finding, again, in the Old Testament, I didn't provide a quote, but it was found that no, I did provide this quote. Oh, very good. Good for me. Goodness. So the king also made a large throne of ivory, and he overlaid it with refined gold. With the arms on the other side of the seat, 2 lions stood beside the arms. And there was found some, remnants of the throne, and there was found these ivory-made lions. Interesting. So, and I mentioned that there are not so many finds found, extra biblical, findings proving the existence of David, but we have them. The first one to the date, which still, which really, I would say is not, didn't make everyone, I would say everyone entirely happy. There's still, some skepticism left in some historians. But so there was a stela from Hatzael. It was found in Tel Dan. I didn't take it to that site yet. Well, we didn't go there. And on this stela, there was it's basically the account of a battle, and there was named. So over here, it's highlighted. So there was it was written House of David. well, that was that type of jaw-dropping discovery. Well, many, I would say, this was the exhaustive answer to many doubts of the ever existence of like David and Solomon. And not everyone is still 100% sure that David did exist, but well, I'm quite happy with the finding. But again, it's me. This has been a very, I would say, biased remark. What is also important that from that script, well, the early Hebrew script looks very, very. I would say it. You can recognize some symbols in early Hebrew. It looks very much. Well, there is something, something from Akkadian, something. So they in the museum they offer a very they offer, so to speak, 10th century older exhibit. So this is the decoration on the burial chamber of the Uzziah, king of Judah. So it's like 1st century CE. So this is about 1,000 years older than the previous exhibit. So, but the claim is that it looks like the ancient Hebrew was formed on the basis of the Akkadian script. Well, there are some similarities. You can see that. Well, let me just do it like this. I'll go back. There is something, right? There are some similarities. Could be. It's still a theory, but a very good one, I would say. It's many linguists also feel the same. Could be. But again, so this exhibit has nothing to do with the narrative of the period we are talking about, so the Iron Age. Iron Age, in most cases, Iron Age is divided into two periods, the Iron Age 1, Iron Age 2. We're still in Iron Age 1. Okay, we have a few more minutes, so I think let's do this. Cult stands. In the same room, there is a very good recreation of the Edomite cult stands, of Edomite temples. And all these are incense burners that you have just seen. It's in Hatzavah, in the south of Israel. This is the photo. This is even not my photo. So the photos are exceptional quality, but when you film, it's horrible. What you see is numerous incense burners, very ornate ones, beautiful. So they were all found in Hatzavah. And also in the south of Israel, different kinds of shrine found, which very much resemble, the temple in the temple in Jerusalem, the Solomon Temple. We don't know exactly what it looked like, but according to the depictions, with the two stones and the shrine and the Holy of Holies, So yeah, and exactly in that type of shrine in Tel Arad, and I already mentioned Tel Arad with connection to the findings that refer to late or early Bronze Age period and Chalcolithic period especially. So in Tel Arad, from a younger period, there was found this altar. Archaeologists know when they find the altar, they know they find an altar. They know what it looks like. And there was found this two standing stones. Okay, that looks like the pillars, the entrance to the Holy of Holies. And there was an interesting thing. Normally, there for some reasons there were these two other stones, and that stone over there was had the traces of incense on it, but it had a very special, very special residue on it, cannabis. And this cannabis is believed to have been used by pagans, but not by Israelites. And this is like this really just makes you ask yourself, so is it a Jewish temple or a pagan site? But why does it look very much like a Jewish temple? Well, this is exactly that ongoing story of this rivalry between monotheism and paganism. And this is probably again the well, that's that same case when some Jews could actually worship some of the Canaanite gods. So the question is, so where also this is the last question I'm going to be asking, but I won't give you an answer because there is no answer. So where did the Canaanites go? So at some point they just disappeared. But how could thousands of people just disappear? I mean, yes, there were battles, people were killed, people were but there's no really story of mass exile of Canaanites. No, they just kind of really vanished. So one of the theories is that actually they kind of assimilated, mostly with the Philistines, but again, also where did the Philistines go? Because later on they would also go. But we know that some of the Philistines also suffered from the Babylonians. Well, Nebuchadnezzar did a good job on exterminating anyone, including the Philistines. And then, but again, like, so what? How would it be? So how did it go for centuries? Canaanites, Israelites, and Philistines. So there are some theories that actually there was some, assimilation, and there could even be, some intermarriages. Well, we know that Solomon, for example, I mean, oh, not Solomon, sorry, goodness, Samson and Delilah. Samson, the judges. So he was one of the judges, one of the last judges, right? Israelite. And Delilah from the Philistines. We know the story, right? Some dodgy business there. So who knows? And again, so this kind of confluence of paganism and monotheism, which is a big, big no-no, obviously, in the Jewish tradition, but it's just makes us ask ourselves more questions. And as I said, there is no answer to it. But a few years ago, there was made a big DNA study. And according to the findings, so there was basically there were samples taken from the Jews and Arabs living in Israel. There were many DNA samples found, and according to the results, it looks like the DNA from Jews and Arabs living in Israel actually it has traces of the Canaanite DNA. You can find that publication. It's in open access, and by the way, the chat is also in open access. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope it's become a little bit clearer with regards to the to the quotes of the of different sources. And yes, so that's quite interesting. It gives you more food for thought. I'm not going to draw any conclusions. I'm not going to convince anyone of anything. I'm just saying, yeah. So a proper Q&A is to begin now. And the recording of this tour will be available if you join later, or if you just want to see something else. Well, it's going to be available for just exactly 1 week on my YouTube channel. And if you're not following me, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. And I just remind you, while I'm waiting for questions, comments, or whatever, I'll be sharing with you the link. So once again, tomorrow I'm taking you to a 19th century apartment in Tbilisi to talk about family history, to see the unique 19th century furniture, the original decorations. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to paste some links. Thank you, Mary. Thank you so much. Yeah, there you go. And also the Soviet history, 1930s. On Monday, looks like it's going to be final episode of Yulagin Palace and Park that belonged to the Romanovs. And here are in the end. So here is the link to my website to find my complete schedule, my PayPal, and buy me a coffee. This is the way you can thank me for the many hours of preparation and study. Thank you so much for still, supporting me in doing what I love doing the most and what I think I do okay. Uh, I try my hardest. Oh, totally. Actually, yes, there is something in the Tesla sign. Interesting. Interesting. Thank you, Cindy. Well, I also learn a lot. These tours exactly helped me prepare for my exams. I wouldn't have been able to pass any of the two exams had it not been for the tours, for the many hours of preparation, because you study best when you teach someone. That's exactly how I've managed to learn at least something. Um, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you so much. Um, but there's always better ways to do that. And I'm learning every time. Thank you. Really means a lot to me. Thank you so much. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so this has been it. Um, please follow me on Instagram and Facebook. My website, you can find all the links to all my socials. Thank you, Maria. And I'll see you more. Definitely more food for thought. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Nobody said it would be easy. Nobody said that you would be given all the answers, unfortunately. But it just pushes us to learn more. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your interest. And well, thank you for spending this many hours with me. It means a lot. Thank you so much, and bye bye. And how should I call him? I don't know. Um, I don't know. Maybe Stefan? I shall think. Bye bye, everyone.